Will I be a freelance writer for the rest of my life? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, I've been a freelance writer for so many years. What's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? I want to share with you how I changed as a freelance writer and where will I go from here? Now, if you want to know my story, what I did, my journey, and then all the next steps for the next phase of my life as a freelance writer, or if that's actually going to be something we're going to be doing in the next 5 or 10 years. Hang around here. Make sure to like my video, subscribe to my channel for more freelance writing advice from a mom to twins. Let's get a little personal here about my journey as a freelance writer and how it all started. I started freelance writing in 2014. My twins were about 15 months old. And for me, I found my schedule manageable at that time. I was a new mom. I was off of maternity, so where I live, I got a year off. After that sort of benchmark of 12 months, I sort of had to come up with a plan. Now, in the beginning, I don't know if you know this, but in the beginning, I actually distributed flyers out in my community for autism therapy. So my background is in psychology. It's in applied behavioral analysis therapy for children with autism. So that's what I sort of did. I went out there. I actually got a client or two, but I found that my travel time took all day. I would travel 3 hours just to do, a 2-hour meeting and then come back another. I spent all day with these clients. And so at that time, my husband was watching the twins. I thought, okay, well, let me sign them up for daycare. Well, daycare costs are expensive. So anything I was making out there would just go to daycare. But on top of that, there was a long waiting list that I had no idea. I mean, they wouldn't be eligible for daycare until they were probably 3 years old. So that wasn't an option for me. And my husband was working at home and he couldn't stop working to watch the kids. It didn't make sense for me to leave the house. And so I really needed to stay home. My twins were still breastfeeding. I was still pumping milk. I mean, I was still in it. They weren't potty trained yet, obviously. So I needed to still be there for them. And I wanted to. I didn't want to leave for most of the day when I've been hanging around with them for over a year. It was hard for me. And so I'm glad that my husband said, you know what, why don't you stay home and find something you can do at home? And so that's when freelance writing sort of came into my life, that little blip. My husband actually just said, there's a lot of moms out there that are doing virtual assistant tasks and they're doing some writing for businesses. Maybe that's something that you're interested in. And I dove right in. I started learning about other moms offering freelance writing to their clients. I learned about virtual assistant. I learned about all these different ways that bloggers or moms were making money online. And I loved it. I knew I didn't want to do virtual assistant. I'm not a type A personality. I am very creative. Writing just fit right up my alley. And that's what I wanted to do. So I learned more about this whole freelance writing side of the world. I learned about different sites that are offering freelance writing jobs. I learned about job boards. I learned about Upwork. I learned about Guru. I learned about content mills. I learned about all these things. And I also made a ton of mistakes along the way. I wasn't making money. I was slaving away hours out of my time just to make a couple of pennies. I was doing everything wrong at this time. And it wasn't until I really focused on my niche and my strategy as a writer that things started to turn around and snowball for me. So I guess the second part of my journey is figuring out my writing niche and how I can leverage that to gain writing jobs. What I did in the beginning was trial and error. I picked 3 freelance writing niches and I just sort of went out there in the ethers of the internet and tried my hand at all 3 of them. I did some guest posting. I found businesses to pitch to, job ads that were in the topics of my choice to pitch to see what I could drum up. Some of the topics that I guest posted in were autism. So again, I leveraged my experience to sites that cater to the autism community. So one of my earliest posts was on this site, Chaos to Calm, helping autism families. And here's my guest post. I even created the graphic because I was learning all this stuff. I was super excited. So I'm I love making graphics. Again, I'm a creative person. I created this graphic for her and I did the guest post right there. And, I thought maybe I'm going to guest post and then I'm going to share this and then other companies, other moms that maybe, wrote books like she did would want to hire me. But this was so new. I wasn't really pumping out my marketing strategy. I wasn't really savvy with my marketing strategy at this time. So again, a lesson learned. I was still learning through this process. But look, I wrote this beautiful guest post. This was something that I knew inside and out. And so there it is. So I did guest posting like that. I did social media, and I even did a psychology one because, again, my background is in psychology. So what I'm trying to say is that I sort of dabbled in all these different areas to find the freelance writing niche that I enjoyed writing about. But what I learned was that all the things that I was learning about marketing my business, I loved, and I started writing about that. And that's when I found out my love of writing about digital marketing tactics. And that's when I actually found one of my first good clients at that time. So one of my first digital marketing clients had me write about social media marketing. So I was writing blog content on his site about social media marketing, and then it grew to blogging content on another client that I had. And so I learned that, okay, I'm providing blog writing in the digital marketing niche to bloggers, entrepreneurs. Again, I was still formalizing my client. I was formalizing my service at that time, but I really liked just writing blog posts about digital marketing. And I did that for years. So my freelance business evolved into what I'm doing now, which is long form SEO blog writing for software as a service companies and other digital marketing companies. So it did take me a while to sort of hone in on my niche and my client. But once I did, I was able to raise my rates. I was able to make more money with my writing. And I simply just promoted that on my writer website. I told potential readers what I was offering and made it crystal clear that my content was long form, that it was SEO optimized for these businesses. But from there, it has even evolved more to opening up my services and opening up my clients. So I went from blog writing to copywriting to email sequence writing, right? And I did that in a span of a few years. I could have, of course, done it sooner. In another video, I share with you what I would do differently if I started out like right now. And in that video, I shared that I would probably just find that one core niche and service and go from there and not take this time trying to figure everything out. Like I would just go with it and pick something and just go with it. So yeah, I started with some copywriting projects that people would reach out and say, hey, can you do landing page copy for me? Can you do this ebook for me? Can you incorporate these copywriting elements in your content here and there? And so I was learning about, writing press kits and media kits and all that stuff that I helped other entrepreneurs with, that I was actually using copywriting. In the beginning, I was just having fun with these projects, but then I learned that these were actual copywriting projects. And so I delved more into learning about copywriting. And so because I increased my writing skills, I learned about higher tier writing projects. I was able to write less and make more money. And now I can pick and choose my clients. I don't have to pitch. I don't have to check job boards. I don't have to do any cold pitching if I don't want to. And so that's a nice place that I'm in my business. But my business has even evolved into what it is now. I'm not only just a freelance writer, I'm also a blogger and a course creator. So I actually have a lot of different income streams. I wear a lot of hats in my business. And so you might be wondering, well, Elna, how did that all transcribe? How did that happen? I remember that when I was writing blog content at elnacain.com, I was getting a lot of people from my email list at that time asking me questions about freelance writing, about their niche, about their getting clients and all of that. So I decided to open up coaching. And that was my first sort of like away from client work, that I was actually the person having clients. And so that worked for a bit. I talked to many people. I had a good rate. I don't remember what my rates were at that time. It was maybe $60 an hour or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But I would talk to these people, and then I would write up a report, and then we would touch base, I think a month later or something like that. And so that proved really nice. But I was starting to get more client work, and my twins probably needed, I think at that time, they were potty trained. Like I was on both ends. People were asking of me, and I couldn't take on many more coaching clients. And so that's when the thought of, well, why don't I share what I'm telling them? Since a lot of them had the same questions, I sort of gave them the same overall answer of what they needed to do. Why not package that up into a course? And at that time, I mean, online courses were booming. It wasn't ebooks or little printable guides at that time. It was all big courses. I wrote lessons. I just wrote them out. And then I formalized that into a course. And then over the years, I've added video and I've added new courses for different audiences. And that's how it sort of grew at that time. And during all this time, my twins were not needing less of me, but they were going to school now. And so once they went to school, a lot of this really happened. I was able to create more courses, and I was able to really, if I wanted to work with certain clients, I could at that time. I picked and choose my clients. I was really just focusing on how much I can optimize my time while my kids are at school. And that's what I've been doing at this time. So you might be wondering, well, where will I go from here? What is my plan to do? Am I going to just be freelance writing until my twins are teenagers? Well, my goal is to collaborate with brands via my freelance writing, right? Since I can pick and choose my clients, I do want to focus on what client I work with. If it's brands that are well known, I do want to connect myself with that brand. It gives me more credibility, and it helps me attain even better clients that are worth it, that will pay my rates if I can show them I've written for such and such brands. And I still want to do that. I mean, I'm still quite young. I love writing. I can see myself doing this for another 5 years, especially with the freelance writing, probably even more depending on what's out there and how the landscape will change. But I'm also having fun with what I'm doing now, which is connecting with other mompreneurs. And so I don't know if I will pivot at this, a few years from now to just focus on mompreneurs and sort of build up a community of mompreneurs and sort of like this, I can envision like maybe like a membership site with a community, some courses, some books, some programs, maybe something along that lines in sort of my other business with Twins Mommy and working now with these mompreneurs as an email sequence writer. I'm finding it fun. I'm finding it fresh. I'm finding it just a blast to do this. And so even though I enjoy writing for clients, especially in software as a service and digital marketing businesses, I'm really enjoying all the different sort of businesses with mompreneurs. They might have guides or ebooks. They might be in health. They might be doing coloring pages. They might be doing mental health things. All this stuff is pretty cool. And if I can write as a copywriter for these businesses and help them, I mean, that for me, it saves me time since email writing is quick for me. It's a short project and I can get paid well for that. So I'm really liking what I'm doing right now, and that could just sort of take over in the next phase of my freelance writing business. My goal is to be the voice for all freelance writers. I do want to be the voice, which means that I do need to be up to date with all that's going on in the world with freelance writing. And that's what's so great about my Facebook group for course students, where we can hash that out and talk about it. And, for anyone that wants to be a writer, they can get paid to write online with my help. I mean, that's sort of my end goal, is that I want anyone that loves writing to monetize their passion. And on my family side, since this pandemic, we were on the cusp of doing a little bit of traveling. And so once all of this, settles down, and once we can get back to whatever life is, whatever new life it's going to be after this, I do want to venture out and do a little bit of, traveling, especially around the country. Maybe as the kids get older, maybe we'll venture out even further to a different country. But at this point, I think just exploring where I live would be fun for the kids. And yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. I'm really feeling the sky's the limit in my business and in my world right now. So I hope you like that. I went through my journey. I showed you how I started, how it grew, and then where I am wanting to go from now. So if you like this video, please smash that like button, subscribe to my channel for more freelance writing advice.